I felt like an utter failure. I would always say, oh, I'm gonna quit. Today's the day I'm gonna quit. And then go back on that word and buy another vape. And then I would throw it away and go back on my word and buy another one. And over time, you start realizing that your words don't really matter much to you. And you stop trusting yourself and you don't believe in the things that you say you'll do. I was addicted to nicotine for probably around 4 years. It was probably the worst time of my life. And I kept trying to quit. I'd fail. I'd start back up again. I'd quit. I'd fail. I'd start back up again. And it was like this vicious cycle that was literally eating me up alive. I've literally tried every method: therapy, supplements, weaning off, cold turkey. I've read all the books out there. I've listened to all the podcasts. I've literally done everything I could, and nothing worked until one day it finally clicked. So trust me, if anyone knows their stuff, it's me. You can quite literally overcome any addiction in not just the span of 2 weeks, but probably in the span of this video, because it all comes down to a mindset shift. So how did I get addicted in the first place? Growing up, I was always the good kid. I was a straight A student. I never did any drugs like in middle school, high school, and I was very health conscious, and I low-key judged others for smoking. Like if people would smoke around me, I'd be the type who would like hold my breath as I'm walking past them. So never in a million years would I have imagined that I would be in that situation. I mean, obviously, I think that's like a given for most people. When you're young, you probably don't imagine yourself getting addicted to drugs, but it can happen to anyone, and you never know what goes on behind closed doors. So I got hooked onto nicotine around COVID time, and I think it had to deal with the fact that I just had a lot of time and I hung around people who were doing it a lot at that time, and out of curiosity I would just like take a hit because I was wondering like, what is this device like everyone's getting hooked on? There's no way that it could get me, you know? Like you kind of have this like false sense of bravado, like, oh yeah, like I'm not going to get addicted. Like I'm above this, right? And so whenever I'd smoke at first, I was really disgusted by it. I'd be like coughing afterwards. It literally didn't make any sense to me until one day it just clicked. I just realized that I got hooked because it started feeling good. And this addiction slowly turned into a coping mechanism, especially when I was in a relationship at that time that was very tumultuous. And every time we'd get into a fight, my response would be to go grab a vape because I didn't know how to soothe. I didn't know like how to regulate. And so one thing led to another, and that's how my addiction started. Why I wanted to quit. Aside from my health literally falling apart, the actual biggest reason why it was eating me up inside was because I felt like an utter failure. I would always say, oh, I'm gonna quit. Today's the day I'm gonna quit. And then go back on that word and buy another vape. And then I would throw it away and go back on my word and buy another one. And over time, you start realizing that your words don't really matter much to you. And you stop trusting yourself and you don't believe in the things that you say you'll do. I had this terrible, awful relationship with myself. I didn't trust myself. I hated myself. I felt like just like crap all the time. Like I felt like a literal failure all the time. My self-esteem was ruined because I didn't act on anything I would say. And on top of that, the things that used to give me pleasure, like hanging out with friends, going for a walk, like all those small little things stopped making me happy. The only thing I cared about was vaping, was nicotine, because nothing else could top like giving me that much dopamine, I guess. Okay, so enough about me. Now we're going to talk about the actionable steps that you're going to take to help you break this addiction, the mindset you need, and the framework you need to help set you up for success. So here's a little secret. Quitting nicotine is actually not that hard. It's actually quite easy. What's actually hard is figuring out all that complex mindset that leads you to your nicotine addiction, that leads you to any addiction. Okay, so let's break down the 2 reasons why people fall into addiction the first place. So I've been doing a lot of research and trying to figure out, why do some people fall into addiction and others don't? Like, why do we have this addiction in the first place? And what I've come to realize is that it comes down to 2 main things. The first thing is those who are addicted have pain and they're trying to self-soothe in a way, and they just don't have access to healthy coping mechanisms. The second reason why is how we view ourselves, our self-perception, our self-identity. Okay, so let's talk about the pain part. You should never ask why someone is addicted. Rather, you should be asking, why is that person in pain? This is actually in line with Dr. Gabor Mate's work. He has done so much work in the Department of Addiction, and what he really focuses on is those who are addicted are suffering, right? Like, no one willingly goes out of their way to harm themselves. They're doing it because they have so much pain and they're trying to numb it, and they're trying to self-soothe in any way possible. When you think about it, it's kind of brilliant how our nervous system finds ways to regulate in any way possible. It doesn't really care about whether it's healthy or not. It's just trying to regulate itself, because right now you're just experiencing a lot of pain and you're suffering. And I know exactly what you're going through. And I know that nothing seems to help, and it's too much for you to bear. And so you smoke in order to numb everything. And you may not even be aware of this. You may not even be aware that there's pain that you're actually trying to just shove deep down inside. And if you truly think that there isn't anything, you need to dig a little bit deeper. The world can be an awful place, and truly there is so much pain and suffering out there, and a lot of us are suffering silently because it's not really cool to be vulnerable. Honestly, I think this is creating a huge problem because we're not sharing our pain with each other. We're not normalizing it. And so we feel broken because it's like, well, why am I feeling so much pain? Why am I suffering? And it must be because I'm broken. But that's not the truth. What I've come to realize is that we all are low-key suffering. And sure, some people may feel it to higher degrees than others. So people definitely have varying sensitivities. And I truly believe that those who are more sensitive are such unique and special creatures because they can feel with such intensity. And in another world, these people would probably grow up as creative artists and musicians and writers and actors, because they know what it's like to go through like the depths of human emotion. But unfortunately, a lot of these people are raised in a very chaotic and dysregulated environment, and they don't have the proper tools to self-soothe, to regulate when they inevitably come across life's stressors and the ups and downs of life. And so then they turn to these instant gratifications in an attempt to regulate their dysregulated nervous system. Okay, so how do we address the pain? Every time you have a craving, instead of instantly addressing it, and instead of instantly listening to it, I want you to challenge yourself and just literally put a timer on for 3 minutes if you can on your phone, and just close your eyes and just sit with it. Try to hear, where is this voice coming from? Who is asking for the nicotine? Obviously, there's a version of you that's really hurt, or that feels dysregulated, or just not heard, and is looking for an instant fix. So just sit with that for a few minutes. I promise you, the craving will go away. It usually goes away in just 20 seconds. And every time you sit with it, you listen to yourself, you validate yourself, you are processing your emotions, it's going to get easier and easier for you. So let's talk about self-perception and how it plays into addiction. Addiction all boils down to our self-perception, who we identify ourselves with. Our brain is very, very logical, and it always tries to match our perception with our reality. So if you truly, deep down inside, believe you are bad, you are broken, you deserve the worst, you will subconsciously take the actions that validate how you feel about yourself. If you truly loved yourself and respected yourself, you wouldn't go out of your way to harm yourself. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way. I'm just trying to shift your mindset about how you view yourself, because I literally struggle with the exact same thing. Growing up, I just thought I was bad. Like I always just thought that I'm doing something wrong. I constantly had a lot of guilt and shame. And so naturally, I would seek actions that validate what I feel inside. If you believe you are bad to the core, that is very dark and it's very isolating, and you just feel broken and you feel different and you just feel like you don't belong. That is going to cause a lot of suffering, and that is going to lead you to vape. Here's the thing. You are not bad. You are completely whole. You're not missing anything. You're not broken. You're not unhealed. You're a good person who's probably had a lot of bad things happen to, but you yourself are not bad, and you deserve the best things in life. You deserve health. You deserve happiness. You deserve good things. Just like all the people you constantly compare yourself to. Stop saying you're going to quit. Stop saying you're not going to do it anymore. Stop making it this like evil, bad, and powerful thing. The more bad you make it, the more evil it becomes. And it becomes this big monster that you eventually have to tackle. You're just giving it so much power and energy. Instead of saying you're going to stop doing the action, change your identity. So instead of saying, I'm going to stop smoking, say, I am a non-smoker. Okay, that's your identity from here on out. You are a non-smoker. Now, what does a non-smoker do? They don't smoke. Easy, okay? Once you change your identity, you're going to instantly change your actions to align with your identity. You are a good person. I'm telling you this, okay? You're a good person and you are a non-smoker. While I'm talking this whole time, you may be wondering, okay, well, I'm going to quit after New Year's because right now my job's getting really stressful. I have a lot of events coming up. I have a lot of work to do for school and like a lot of exams and guess what? Life is always going to have its stressors. You are never going to have a time where you're not going to have a stressful event. Life is always going to be up and down, right? When you smoke, you're not making it better. That is all a facade. You're actually making it so much more worse because now, on top of the already stressful event, you are now adding very deep, complex emotions of guilt, self-hatred, feeling like a failure. So those stressful events are already stressful on their own, and now you're making it worse by smoking. Someone really close to my life once said, you don't have to be happy 100% of the time. I don't know, that just like really clicked with me because I guess like by smoking, I was always just constantly trying to soothe myself and feel good and feel better all the time. But then I realized like sometimes it's okay to just sit with yourself and just be like, oh, life sucks. And, and just suffer and just like push through it and just let it pass. Because these really dark negative emotions, that's what they always do. They're going to pass. It's always temporary. All this pain, all this suffering, all this anxiety that you're feeling, all these will eventually pass. I promise you. This is just a temporary season in your life, and you're going to get through it. Do not compare your journey to others, okay? I think this definitely got to me a lot because those around me who initially got me into nicotine would quit. And then I would feel like such a piece of crap because I would wonder, well, why am I not quitting easily? How come it was so easy for them and it's so difficult for me? Oh, it must be because I'm broken or I have a very addictive personality. And you just like make up all these things. But in actual reality, you can never compare your journey to other people because first of all, you don't know if they're quitting for good. And second of all, it only further feeds into this false narrative that you have that you're broken or you're bad. There's no point in comparing your journey to other people. I don't care if all your friends around you quit and you're the last one standing. you will do it the right way, my friend, and you will actually tackle it from inside out. I highly doubt a lot of people out there are actually quitting in the right way. They may be using a lot of willpower, and that's difficult every day to use willpower to quit. That does not help at all. Don't compare your journey to others. That will only bring you down. Do it the right way and just focus on yourself. So the one thing that's holding you back is that you have this severely broken relationship with yourself, right? You are unable to hold promises to yourself because you told yourself before that you would quit and you haven't yet. And so you need to start building trust again with yourself. You need to start acting on your words. So how do you do that? I found that the easiest way to do this is to just focus on the present moment. Anything outside of this present moment is completely made up and irrelevant. I found that one thing that would always get me back to smoking was that I would always think about the future. And I would think about, I'm just going to quit after New Year's. I'm just going to quit after my birthday. Or no, well, I have all these events going on, and so I don't want to quit right now. You don't think about the future because none of that has happened yet. You just focus on right now. What is the decision you're going to make for yourself right now in this present moment? That's the only thing you have to worry about. Making a decision for your future self in all these instances, it's so overwhelming. All you have to focus on is the decision to stop smoking right now, and don't worry about the future. Don't think about all the past times where you haven't kept your promise. It doesn't matter. You take it one step at a time. Okay, so hopefully by now I have really worked on your framework and your mindset, but if that hasn't done it, don't worry, I saved the best for last, and I'm going to talk about what completely helped me break my nicotine addiction. And it's something called the Diderot Effect. So the Diderot Effect is based off of a French philosopher, Denis Diderot, who wrote this whole story on how he got broke because he was gifted a really extravagant gown. And so he was given this gown as a gift that was very luxurious, very expensive. But then he realized like his home did not match his attire anymore. So then he was like, okay, well, this armchair that I'm sitting on when I'm wearing this gown does not fit the luxury aesthetic. So I need to buy a way fancier armchair. So he buys a fancy armchair. He looks around his room. He's like, oh my gosh, now my rug, it's so outdated. I need to make sure I buy this luxurious rug to match the armchair and my gown. And so he buys a rug, and then he's like, oh my gosh, I need to buy this new painting because that painting is so plebeian, and I need to get this fancy painting that will match my rug, my armchair, or my gown. And so it's like this whole domino effect where changing one thing about yourself leads to changing a lot of little other things around you. And you can actually use this to your favor by setting one goal, okay, just one goal that will help you make all these other changes around you over time. And so my one goal was to run the half marathon. And there is no way in hell I could run a half marathon if I was smoking, okay? And so by setting that goal for me a year in advance, I had to quit because I had to train every day. And if I run and I smoke the next day, I would feel so terrible, like physically too. By setting a goal for yourself, you will naturally align all your actions you take to help you achieve that goal. So yeah, if you want to be crazy like me and you want to stop smoking, you could sign up for the half marathon next year. That might be taking a little extreme, but I wanted to prove a point to myself. For some people, it works better to know what to expect. Once you know why you're feeling a certain way, why it's a little bit harder certain days than others, it makes it just like more easy to quit. So all you need to know are two things. The first 3 days are going to absolutely suck. 3 to 5 days actually, because that's when you're getting the nicotine out of your system. 3 to 5 days, if you can make it through that, you can make it through anything, I promise you. And then give it a full 2 weeks, because that's when like all the byproducts from the nicotine are going to completely come out of your system, and you will no longer have like any physical cravings, and the rest is mindset. So all it takes is literally 2 weeks. 2 weeks for you to set aside to change your entire life. 2 weeks to quite literally save your life. Once you conquer your addiction, I swear you will feel on top of the world. You are going to develop this amazing amount of confidence and you're going to trust yourself finally, because now you know that once you say something, you're going to act on it. And that's going to translate to everything in your life. I promise you, quitting your addiction is going to change your life. Out of everything I've achieved in my entire life, this by far has been my biggest accomplishment, because I rewired my brain and conquered one of the most addictive substances in this world. I started to enjoy the small things again and created a YouTube channel where hopefully I can inspire other people to help quit their addiction as well. So for the very few who have stuck around this far into the video, I want to congratulate you. I am so excited for your incredible journey. You are setting yourself up for such an amazing journey. I promise you, it's going to be the best decision you are going to make for yourself. You are finally free. I want you to celebrate this moment. I want you to be extremely proud and happy, because honestly, this was probably the hardest thing to do. From now on, it's going to be so much easier, because honestly, the hardest part is making the decision that I am finally 100% done. And the rest is so much easier. I promise you, once you set your mind to this, you will quit. You will get out of it, and your life is going to be amazing. If you need any help, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can email me, you can write in the comments, whatever it is you need, I'm here to help you. Also, in the description box below, I am going to include links to what books I think have helped me the most, what other podcasts and videos to watch that will help you along your journey. And so look in the description box, I'll have it all linked for you. In the comments below, write down the date that you're watching this video, because that marks the official date where you're officially a non-smoker, and I want everyone to share it with each other. So I hope this video helps. Stay tuned for the next video. Bye!